Well, good morning. My name is Robert Powers, Bob Powers. I have a couple of prepared remarks here I just wanted to say, but first, let me start off by thanking BART Board President Bevan Dufty and the rest of the BART Board for the opportunity to serve as General Manager for BART, and that I appreciate the confidence and the trust you have in me to lead this great organization. I am excited and truly humbled to have been appointed to guide this fantastic team in delivering BART to the Bay Area. I understand the importance of BART to the communities we serve and to the Bay Area in general. So a little bit about myself. I've been with BART for 7 years. This past 3 years, I have been the Deputy General Manager, where I've worked closely with the General Manager in providing leadership for the district. The first 4 years with this district, I was the Assistant General Manager for Planning, Development, and Construction, where I delivered multi-million-dollar capital projects, as well as spearheaded BART's efforts in addressing our housing challenges that we're having by developing BART land for housing. Prior to coming to BART, I held executive leadership positions with the City of Seattle and the City of Baltimore, and I am a licensed professional registered engineer. So back to today. My number one commitment moving forward as General Manager of BART will be to ensure that our customers come first and that our employees have the tools and the support to do the job and to do the job safely. I recognize the hard work that our employees do every day, getting the trains out every morning, getting the stations ready to accept the hundreds of thousands of passengers that we deliver every day. I will do everything I can to get our employees the resources to succeed in that effort. But we have a problem. Our low customer satisfaction numbers are unacceptable. We can do better, we will do better, and we must do better. I'm going to build on the foundation laid by my predecessor, Grace Kreniken. We really are on the path of a world-class transit organization, but there is a lot of hard work to do. Under my leadership, we will deliver on the projects that we've promised. A new fleet car replacement program, a new train control system, rebuilding our infrastructure, reducing crowding, increasing service, and a fully staffed BART Police Department. As we welcome new riders, my message is simple. We are going to focus on the customers. We're going to work hard to improve your customer experience, and I am ready to listen. With that, I am announcing that I will be launching a listening tour. I want to hear directly from our riders and from our employees of their concerns. I will be in the stations, I will be in the trains, I will be on the platforms, I will be at the yards and shops. I want to hear what they have to say and if we're taking the right steps. I will sit with social media and listen to what's being said in the digital space. We all have a stake in the success of BART, and BART has such a great impact on the Bay Area. So with that, I am happy to take a few questions before I turn it back over to President Dufty to return to the BART board meeting. So that is the priority. We're going to focus on our customers, and what that means is we're going to follow through on the quality of life initiatives that we have underway. So under quality of life right now, we have our station hardening effort. That's looking at our railings and looking at locking the swing gates. That's one piece of it. The other piece within our quality of life on the homeless side is looking for opportunities to intercede with the homeless and point them in the direction of services. A lot of the homeless are newly homeless, given the affordable housing crisis that we have out there right now. And we don't know the situations that they're coming from. And it's not for us to judge. After today's meeting, pending the BART board approval on an item in front of us here, we will have homeless outreach teams in all 5 counties that we're going to serve. And that's important. And so we're trying to get in and intervene. We have pit stops that we're going to have funded so that the homeless can get out there, little bit of dignity, and use the restroom and clean up, and that these pit stops are staffed. And the last component of that is the BART Police Department. So right now, we have hired 33 BART police officers in the last 6 months, since the beginning of this year. That is more than we have hired the entire last year. A fully BART-staffed police office is critical. And then I will have discussions with the board about a potential ambassador program to try to get an additional presence on the train. Maybe it's nights and weekends, and try to make a difference there as well.
It's interesting to hear you talk about improving the customer experience. For me personally, seeing people, not allowed to, or sort of humiliated by these new fare gates, having more cops. Yeah, so seeing people humiliated by these new fare gates and having new cops, I don't really see how that improves anyone's experience. I don't know if there's really much evidence that having more cops makes people safer. And I guess I would ask, like, what are you going to do to, like, improve, say, coverage, frequency of service? Because I think, and reduce the price and maybe improve access to the BART. Because I think these are really the things that actually improve people's experience, rather than humiliating poor people and having more cops.
So, 2 parts to my response. So we are not in the business of humiliating anybody. The pilot projects that we have underway on the fare gates, both at Richmond and Fruitvale, are that, pilot projects. We're trying to establish what works and what doesn't work. We'll be hearing a little bit more about that in my GM report this afternoon. I couldn't agree more with you about access, making transit more accessible, first mile and last mile, perhaps standardizing, the fare transfer rate between one agency and the other. But I do think that having a staffed presence on the trains is important for our riders, whether they're sworn officers or whether they're some type of ambassador program like the MTAP program or something like that. But having a presence during the nights and the weekends, I think, is critical. And I think our riders, from our customer satisfaction surveys, are asking for that.
Can I just ask that the journalist just identify yourself, just to let us know who you're with? That would be wonderful.
My question to you is a simple one, and that is, you'll be the first BART general manager to have an inspector general looking over your shoulder and everybody else's shoulder. Your comments on that, especially as it relates to the fact that there's still a lot of problems at BART that need to be cleaned up.
So I welcome Harriet Richardson's appointment to the district. I reached out to Ms. Richardson about a week or 10 days ago and welcomed her to the BART family. I think it's important that we have an independent look at the BART books and how resources are being allocated. I'm not afraid of that. I mentioned that to her on the phone. I'm going to work very closely with her. Look, our books are open. I think we have a very solid organization. We have nothing that we're going to hide. They're going to be very transparent, and I think that she'll find us a very collaborative, and we'll work very closely together. Yes, sir.
You spoke briefly about the pilots for the new fare gates. Can you say definitively if you support the designs as they are now as a pilot, or
So
not?
Sorry, Joe, I let you finish, yes.
And just one second part. Do you find it to be a need to increase the priority towards a second Transbay rail crossing? And can you speak about the need for a second rail crossing?
Yeah. So the first part, Joe, so I'm an engineer, and so I always wait for the data to come in. And, I mentioned earlier on a pilot, you go out and you try, and you get some data coming in. You're going to hear a little bit later this morning about the data, about how the stations were selected and what the impact has been. So I'm not in a position to tell you if they're successful. I'll tell you this, they have been designed, if we needed to, that they could be additive on top of each other, or they can be separate. And those are just two elements that are under consideration right now. We will be coming back to the board, this board of directors here, the second meeting in September, to walk through everything and anything associated with our two pilots at Richmond and Fruitvale, and have a very good discussion about next steps as far as those pilots. So the second crossing is a very important effort for the Bay Area. I can't stress that enough. I think if you look at the growth of the Bay Area and the projected ridership increases, that we will be at capacity, sooner rather than later. I'm thinking somewhere between 2030, 2035. And everything that's coming from the north and coming from the east, and then over on the East Bay that's coming up from the south, we are at capacity through that corridor. And that corridor is, when we expand that corridor's capacity there, it will be for BART and it'll be for standard gauge. And that really will open up a world of possibilities and future for all of the Bay Area.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone, and I think we'll take a couple of minutes. Did any of the media want to interview individual directors? Should I hold for a couple of minutes, or are we good? Seems like we're good, so we'll go to work. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.